Continuing with our zero trust journey supported with Microsoft solutions, we are now going to cover the infrastructure pillar. So we already went over identities, endpoints, applications, and data. And now we were going to look at some of the solutions that we can use to cover things related to the infrastructure pillar. Hello, I am Cio Rodriguez. We are going to use an interactive guide uh, because some of the things you need to have the right licensing, the right environment. I do not have Microsoft Defender for Cloud Plan 2, and we're not going to go into the details of. So as I've said from the beginning, this is just to put into context to have something that is actionable, and to look at some of the solutions that we can use. Now, obviously, there are other solutions out there, but the main goal of this is to explain how you can implement zero trust with Microsoft solutions. Now, obviously, we're just going over, these are very, tiny examples of the things that you can do. This, the implementing all of these controls and doing these things, it would take a lot more time. So in this interactive guide, we are going to go over how to reduce risk by prioritizing recommendations. We are going to talk about the improving your compliance posture, risk hunting, and attack surface exploring, and implementing security governance. So those are the features that we're going to be covering in this in this tutorial. Now, Microsoft Defender for Cloud uh, provides cloud security posture management or CSPM and cloud workload protection or CWP. So basically you can secure servers, containers, databases, and the storage across Azure, AWS, and GCP, and of course on-premises service. So you can bring everything within this Microsoft Defender for Cloud portal. You can monitor compliance and integrate with Secure Score, as we will see. So again, as I said, Microsoft Defender for servers, it's advanced threat detection and protection for Windows and Linux servers on premises, hybrid, and in cloud. Doesn't matter where the servers are, right? You can bring them all and manage them and protect them with Microsoft Defender for Cloud. So Defender for Cloud includes integration with Microsoft Defender for Endpoint, which we already went through. Um, so Defender, or there is also Microsoft Defender for SQL, right? It protects Azure SQL databases and SQL on VMs from vulnerability, misconfigurations, and threats. A lot of attacks have happened in the cloud is because those databases are have been misconfigured or they had vulnerabilities. So Microsoft Defender for Cloud bring visibility into that. And again, so these are modern things that you cannot protect with a traditional antivirus. So even Microsoft Defender for MDE, which is a sophisticated EDR program, cannot protect you with something for SQL or Microsoft Defender for like a container using Kubernetes clusters in AKS and that kind of stuff. So even Microsoft storage accounts cannot be protected with traditional antivirus or EDR solutions. So you need something with Microsoft Defender for Server. Microsoft Defender for Server, again, you could use Azure Arc to bring your on-premises service into visibility and that kind of stuff. So anyway, those are the kind of things that we are going to do here. So the Microsoft Defender for Cloud page, in this case, shows you know your hybrid, the posture of your hybrid cloud workloads. It gives you security alerts, coverage informations, um, and a whole bunch of other things. So here is an overview of the different environments. It's that we have Azure subscription one, we have AWS accounts, we have GCP projects over here. Here's the number of resources. There's a lot of active recommendations and a lot of alerts. It's stuff that you must follow. And then this will give you a security posture. Anyway, but let's walk through this guide. If we want to see what's down here, right? So we can take a look at the inventory of you know whether monitor or unmonitor VMs that are in your environment. And also this integrates with other solutions that we've seen, like for example, information protection. So you could, use this to manage data classification, sensitivity labels, data that is stored in any of this service as well, right? So anyway, so a lot you can cover with the with this. So let's click on the security posture tile, which is this tile over here, and let's drill down into some of these things. So first of all, this is the we are in the kind of like the environments that we are covering. Notice over here that we are being protected with Azure. Now, if we click on AWS, then now it will aggregate AWS as well. And then if we click on GCP, it will aggregate that as well. So the secure score now reflects all the environments being monitored, not just the Azure environment. So if we close this, let's close this button to return to the overview page. And one of the most important things in this page obviously is the recommendation, because the recommendation will give you a list of things that you are recommended to do. These are issues that you have to work on. So if we click on this recommendations page, right? So Defender for Cloud provides recommendations on how to resolve security issues. As recommendations are implemented, then the secure score improves. And so this is something that you will be working on constantly. So organizations often face a high volume of security recommendations. A new intelligent cloud security graph in attack path analysis in Microsoft Defender for Cloud prioritizes your most critical risk based on potential lateral movement paths and risk context, which is really important in a modern environment, using the cloud. So let's take a look at, so this is what we are talking about here, right? So this is the attack path. And if we click on this, all right, so these are paths uh, with a potentially high business impact that attackers can exploit. And we can drill into, some of these paths. So for example, if we click on this one, right, it says Internet Exposed VM has highly severity vulnerabilities and read permissions to a key vault. So problem with Key Vault, you cannot get that with a traditional antivirus, even with a traditional EDR solutions, right? So really important to do that. And then here we get a description. You can see the attack path, right? So let's go one at a time. But if we click on the recommendation, the you can basically remediate this recommendations to kill the attack chain, right? So if we select this first recommendation over here, right, and we click on the description and then remediation steps, right, and now we are going to select this server right here. So one of the first thing is that um, you need to assign owner for remediation. In other words, if actions need to be taken, who's going to be doing this? Somebody got to be responsible. So in your team. So if you select this server, which has some issues, we are going to assign an owner, right? So basically you put the email address and, you can give it a date, that kind of stuff. And then we are assigning an owner here. You can do that as well. But anyway, so, and then we save that. So now that person comes in, sit this over here, they can look, could look at the resources, and it will take care of that. And then you get, the steps that you need to take in order to fix that. So if we close this, um, now let's click into the virtual machines attack surface. So we can look at those recommendations associated with a specific resource, in this case, VMs. So we selected the virtual machines VM. And uh, so the checklist icon here indicates that there are recommendations for this resource, right? That's why we're going to do that. So when we click on this, then you get a list of the recommendations. And again, we can drill down, and the recommendation identifies vulnerability findings that need to be resolved, right? So once we can here, then we can click on a finding, and notice that this is, well, the severity, it's high. And it basically it says that we need to update Apache log4j. And again, if you are in cybersecurity and you have not heard about Log4j, then you're not reading about cybersecurity issues lately, right? But anyway, so let's click on this. Here we have more details, general information, remediation, some of the weaknesses, the CVE that this is associated with, and that kind of stuff. So if we click back to the Microsoft Defender for Cloud attack paths, right? We let's now click into the Internet Exposed EC2 instance. So this has so basically what this means that there is an Internet Exposed EC2 instance. EC2 is the name of a server on AWS. That's basically what it is. So there's an EC2 instance that has highly severity vulnerabilities and read permissions to a KMS, or a key management service, right? Which is similar to the Key Vault in Microsoft. So let's click into this AWS EC2 instance node. And here we get a lot of information about this and what's happening. But if we click on this Insights tab or link, um, we can look at the CVE list that covers this vulnerability. And if we click on this, it will just take me to the CVE page. CVE.MITRE.org is a private organization, but a government sponsor. And MITRE is government sponsor research, institution that, as a matter of fact, um, I have worked with some people from MITRE, working for the U.S. Air Force, and great job to those folks too. But anyway, so here is the CVE. You have a lot of information, description, about what's going on. This is a great resource. I usually go to, actually I'm subscribed to this so that when there are new vulnerabilities, so CVE, the common vulnerability exposure, again, it's a catalog of all the vulnerabilities, basically all the applications that are used, that are kept by this company. So very, very useful resource. Anyway, so here is that vulnerability. Just wanted to show that over there. So you can also review recommendation for the EC2 instance. So if we click on recommendations and we click on this instance, so we can take a look at these things. And now if we return to the list of attack paths to look at more examples, again, we could take a look at all these things over here, the findings, the severity. These are things obviously that you need to do. So software that you need to update, and that kind of stuff. So these are actions that somebody in your team, in the organization, must take place. Okay, you have visibility of all that stuff in here. If we go back to the Microsoft Defender for Cloud attack paths, right? So here we are, returning to that list of the attack paths to look at one more example. So if we click next, um, in this page, there is an internet exposed Azure Blob storage. Let's take a look at that. So this is It says Internet exposed Azure Blob storage container with sensitive data is publicly accessible. Okay. Um, so it is common to have Azure Blob container with public information. Maybe the marketing department has a lot of videos and movies that they are shared with the public, and that's fine. But if this is a private container, or if this is a container that holds um, data that is not supposed to be, then that would be a big issue. So using integrated data aware security posture capability, Defender for Cloud can now identify attack paths related to sensitive data. So this attack path shows that, again, as I said, an Azure Blob a storage container with sensitive data. Basically meaning this is not supposed to be public, right? With sensitive data that is reachable from internet and allows public read access without authorization required. So this is huge, right? So if we click on this file and then we click on this insight, and we're going to drill down to this, right? So these are the sensitive info types included in the storage container. You can also view the samples that contain the sensitive information by drilling down into these things here. All right. So again, none of these things can be done with a traditional EDR or antivirus software. So you need a modern solution like Microsoft Defender for Cloud. And this is why it is so important for you need a solution like this for zero trust. Again, there are other solutions out there that do similar things. But what I'm saying is, if you are a Microsoft customer and you use Microsoft technologies, then um, all these technologies are integrated. This is a great solution. Let's go back to the home page. Okay, and basically with that we cover that task of this exercise. Now in the next exercise, you learn how you can conduct risk hunting and attack surface exploiting, and that's what we're going to do next. So this feature is called the Cloud Security Explorer. I love this feature, right? Because as you will see, so if we click on this, right, Cloud Security Explorer equips security admins and security professional, but more the admin side. Normally, a lot of the admins do this, basically any power user with query-based tools and starter templates for risk hunting and resource exploring, enabling users to query the graph for their own custom findings. So a lot of complaint that people have about this Microsoft Defender for Cloud is that in the past you had to know a lot of KQL and running queries, and running queries, that was like a specialized skill set. You needed to have some kind of developer skill in order to do this in the past. Now, with this Explorer, and obviously with Copilot, and ChatGPT and those tools, you could basically, go in and write any query that you want. So, things are a lot easier in the age of artificial intelligence. But I really appreciate this Cloud Security Explorer feature. So let's take a look at a template, right? So it says Internet Exposed VMs. So we are going to look up for any VM in the environment. Remember, these VMs could be in Azure, they could be in AWS, they could be on-premises machines, right? On-premises server. They're not just VMs, or there could be on-premise VMs, either VMs or physical machines, right? So let's click on this. And so basically, um, we are going to find any Azure virtual machines, right? AWS EC2 instance in this case, that are exposed to the internet. That's the first thing. But we're going to do more. So if we click on search, it'll find all those VMs. But if I click on a template, right? So Now let's look for storage accounts allowing HTTP access in container sensitive data. So as you know, HTTP is insecure. One of the most important aspect of zero trust is encryption. And to protect data in transit, you need, TLS 1.2, for example. That's the HTTPS feature to that. So if you have any storage account that is not transferring data over TLS, then that is a problem, and we can query for that. So let's take a look at that. And then here, what we're doing is, find Azure storage accounts in this case that are exposed to the internet, right? And that contains sensitive data. And you can click on, you can refine this thing. You can add more or you can remove. This is, a beautiful thing. I really love this feature. So if you click on search, right? Then now we have a whole bunch of um, resource, storage accounts that meet this criteria. So let's click on this one right here, right? And some of these things we can, quickly fix remediation um, if it's available. So the quick fix remediation is available for the affected resource. So if we click on fix, and then we click on fix this one resource, okay, boom, that's done, okay. It will be automatic. Now obviously some of the fixes are quick, you can do it with this. Other fixes are a lot, more complex. You may have to install software, you may have to disable some do some configuration, but I love this quick fix because it's so easy to do that. So anyway, so that's what that is about. Now let's clear this whole thing here. And yeah, we want to confirm that we want to clear the query. All right. And let's go and, now let's take a quick look at the different resource types that you can select and you can query for. So you can query for compute stuff, and then these are all the stuff related to compute, networking, resources, such as, virtual networks, subnet, network interfaces, load balancer, etc. We can do stuff related to data, stuff related to Kubernetes, and stuff related to Key Vault, DevOps, identity and access management, and all that kind of stuff. Now, let's say that we want to query SQL related resources. In this case, let's look at Azure SQL servers, right? So I'm going to look for that. So I'm going to add that. And the condition is that in the data, it contains sensitive data. So that's what I want to do. Very simple, right? Find me any Azure SQL server that contains sensitive data. And I can click on this and add more stuff. So another condition that I want to add is that in the networking piece, I want to make sure that these are exposed to the internet, because so if it's not exposed to the internet, maybe it's not such of a big risk, right? Although remember, in the zero trust framework, all networks should be treated as hostile, whether they are internal or external. But obviously, if you have SQL servers that contain sensitive data that are exposed to the internet, that's a lot more critical than if it's not exposed to the internet. So let's click on search, and it found a couple of databases. Let's click on this. All right, and then here it is. So it's found a lot of stuff, right? You can go through a lot of stuff. It's just noise, it's low. Obviously you want to start solving this high severity issues, right? um, Now, if so, on the resource health page, the data classification section shows the type of sensitive data that this server contains, right? We saw that. So if we click on the alerts tab, right, then we can go and look at the alerts and see what's going on. There's a lot of information here, right? Very cool stuff. If we go back to home, right? That's it. That was the we concluded with that exercise there. In the next exercise, we are going to look at some of the things and actions that you can do to improve your compliance posture, right? So let's see what are some of the things that we can do over here. So we were under the security posture. Now we're going to go into the regulatory compliance tile. So if we click on this, Defender for Cloud helps streamline the process for meeting regulatory compliance requirements in your industry, whatever that may be, or government related stuff. So as you act on the recommendations and reduce risk factors in your environment, your compliant posture improves, right? Under the Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark, select the first compliance control. So this is what we are in the, so if you look at this, we are under the Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark, right? But you could look into PCI DSS, you could look into HIPAA and HITRUST, you could look into NIST SP 800-53, which is a catalog of control for cybersecurity security related stuff. Um, this is another NIST publication, this UK stuff, etc., etc., etc. So there's a lot of controls that, if you want to look at the AWS CIS controls, right? Or GCP. So all of these cloud providers have their own benchmark, right? And you can control all that stuff in a single, portal over here in Microsoft Defender for Cloud. So if we click on this network security piece, all right, let's take a look at this. So it's important to notice that each compliance control has a set of associated assessments run by Defender for Cloud. The icons indicate whether an assessment is passing or failing, right? And so we can drill into an assessment to see recommendations for improving the compliance. Now, some controls that are grayed out don't have any assessment associated with them. And that could be for a number of reasons. We're not going to get into that. So if we look down, right, um, again, some of this recommendation, I really love this feature. We talked about that. But um, if any of the recommendation has a quick fix, it is clearly visible. And then you can click on it, right? And this is like a very quick win. Now, I just said a moment ago that you should go over your high severity first. Well, yes and no. As a matter of fact, because my recommendation, and actually the recommendation in cybersecurity and zero trust in general, is that if something is really quick, it'll take you literally, seconds to fix, just get rid of that, right? Uh, so in this case, this is a very quick fix. And remember, a quick fix could be could have a high severity risk, right? So look at all the high severity risk first and determine if those high severity risks have quick fixes and then do those first. That's the bottom line. So if I click on this, right? Click on fix and then fix one resource and voila, it's done, right? Um, now if so actually there's more to it. If we click on deny, we'll click on the subscription, and basically what we are basically preventing resource creation that is publicly available. That's what we're doing right now, right? We are disabling that feature. So doing this, and that will take care of that. All right. So really easy stuff. If we go back to the security compliance, so next we are going to review the compliance control for the payment car industry data security standard PCI DSS as we uh, um, alluded before. So if I click on this, let's scroll down, take a look at some of the things over here. So let's say that we are looking for a standard and the standard is not visible. There are tons of standard and you can either buy other standard. Microsoft has this, Azure Marketplace. You could buy stuff or you could get it somewhere else. But to add standards to your dashboard, you can select the Manage Compliance Policy. So if we click on this, right? Uh, so from this page, you can select a subscription or a management group and identify the standards you want to add. Now, I'm not going to go into details about the difference between a management group and a standard and stuff like that. So if you're not an Azure person, I do not expect you to understand that. This is more of a cybersecurity class, right? So I'm not going to drill into those things. But again, if I click on the that subscription, the compliance, right? And then I click on the PCI DSS, and this is the subscription that I want to protect with that. Then basically I've just added that is standard for that subscriptions. And let's say that I want to look at reports. And this is really important for auditors, right? Because let's say that, well, your company want to find out if the Microsoft Defender for Cloud is actually, you want to audit Microsoft Defender for Cloud for PCI. Well, um, unfortunately, you're not going to have access to the Microsoft resources and server to audit. So Microsoft had, already um, certifications from public, authorized auditors that have confirmed, so you can look at the attestation from this console. For example, you can download a certificate demonstrating that Microsoft Azure Dynamics 365 and various Microsoft online services are actually PCI DSS certified or ISO 27001 or NIST, and all that stuff. Anyway, so click on download and download here. Now, let's take a look at this file. All right. So, um, PCI Security Standard Council. All right. So basically, this is an attestation of compliance for on-site assessment and service providers, right? And then you can look at this report, and you can get a lot of these reports. Right. Anyway, so um, that's about the auditing piece. Let's go back to home and let's take a look at recommendations. Right. And now, so you can also search for a specific recommendations and identify the unhealthy resources that you want to remediate. So let's click on search and we're looking for machines that should have vulnerabilities remediated. So let's click on remediation. Let's take a look at this. Now, click on affected resources, right? And then we can take a look at all these things over here. And it will tell you, the name, the subscription, whether it has an owner, and that kind of stuff. If we go back to the recommendations, then basically that was it. So, that was the end of that, kind of like a quick introduction to some of the things that you can do with Microsoft Defender for Cloud with that respect. Next, you will learn how to, or rather, the security governance capabilities of Defender for Cloud create clarity of a responsibility in your security team. How do we do that? So let's go into the security posture here. And then from here, you can view recommendations assigned to a specific owner. So let's take a look at that. So click on owner here, and we're going to look for a specific person, and then we're going to view the recommendations. Okay, so now we see that there is a recommendation that was assigned to a specific user and that should have been done, or that was done on time, whether the status is whether it is on time, it is not, whether it has been fixed, and that kind of stuff. Okay, so this is really important for accountability. And again, accountability is a key feature of Zero Trust. Um, let's click now into the environment settings. And here you can manage your subscriptions for Defender for Cloud. So let's say that there is a new subscription that you want to, because Defender for Cloud is based on subscriptions, right? So if you create and when we're talking about subscription in Azure, a subscription is kind of like a billing boundary. So typically, a company may have a development subscription, maybe a testing and subscription, and a production subscription, for example, right? So everything related to testing, you have a subscription, and then you could, it create a security boundary. Any resource that in a subscription by default cannot touch any resource on another subscription. Can they communicate? Yes, but there's a lot of other things behind the scene that you want to do if you want to do that. But that's isolation, which is it goes the principle of least privilege and the cementation features of cloud uh, of zero trust rather. So if I expand this, here are my subscriptions, right? And then, so once I come here, then remember that we said that there's a lot of stuff that you can do with Defender for Cloud. Well, this is what I was talking about, right? So you have Microsoft Defender for servers, you have Microsoft, uh, Defender for app service, Microsoft Defender for databases, Microsoft Defender for storage, Microsoft Defender for containers, Defender for Key Vault, Resource Manager, um, DNS, you name it, right? And the only thing that is on by default is this free tier, the Defender CSPN, free feature, which is the CSPN stands for Cloud Security Posture Management, right? That's the other thing is the other pieces are the cloud workload protection. So each of this is referred to as a workload. The server's workload, the app service workload, the databases workload, the storage workload, right? So those are not free. You need to pay for those. And you basically come over here, you turn it on. Some of them require some extra configuration, some extra settings that you can do, but that's basically what this is all about. And this is why something like this, it's not easy to do hands-on because again, you need um, to pay for these things. But that's why this interactive cloud guides from Microsoft are an excellent resource. All right. So let's go to the governance rules. And so assigning owners with due dates and defining governance rules creates accountability and transparency, which again are really important. So let's create add a rule, right? I'm just gonna put the information that we're gonna go and talk about this in a second. But all right. So basically, what we did over there was we created a weekly email that will be sent to the specified owner and their manager with all the recommendations that they are assigned to. That's basically what it was on there. Okay. And, they would get an email like this. So this is an example of the email that an owner will get. And with that, we conclude this interactive guide about. So this is an introduction, if you want to call it, about Microsoft Defender for Cloud. It is a great resource or a great feature or solutions rather that you can use um, in the journey to zero trust supported by Microsoft. All right. So that concludes the infrastructure feature again, um, rather the infrastructure pillar of zero trust. Now, remember, most of the stuff that we're going through is we're talking about the solutions that are available. The how, there's a lot of stuff that goes behind the scene. As I said, zero trust is a journey. Some companies, take years for all these things to be implemented. Now, if you have a small company and you have the budget and you want to do this, yeah, you can do this in months. So it all depends on the complexity and the different workloads that your company uses. But anyway, so next we are going to cover the network and the last pillar of this zero trust journey supported with Microsoft solution. As always, thank you for watching, and please help me with this. I ask a favor of you. Subscribe to my channel, like my content, leave me a content, rather a comment if you want any other things, if you want, um, you know, if you want me to do something to improve, to make better videos, right? I promise you that if you subscribe to my channel, every time I will try to improve. I will make better videos for you for free. So thank you, and I hope to see you in the next network pillar.